Because if they just continue to write Nicole as trying to be a playa, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to stand that for too much longer. What is up, Beyond the Gates fans? Here with my usual Sunday where I like to give a preview for the upcoming week, but lately it's become more fun to just read y'all's comments on the week prior. But first, I will get this preview out of the way coming up for the week of March 16th. We only have 3 episodes this week. The show will only air Monday through Wednesday because of March Madness college basketball on Thursday and Friday. So, yeah, I did not love the preview. I'm not going to lie. It's not looking like it's going to be a great week for me. I'm just very down on the writing right now. I really am. It's hard not to be. A lot of the shows are very boring lately. The storylines seem to either go way too slow or a lot of things happen off screen that we don't actually get to see. They have a lot of bad writing mistakes that I really wish that they would correct, but they don't seem to be correcting them, which we're going to get to with some of your comments. The first thing in the preview, though, is Eva and Isaiah trying to get sexy. I guess we're going to have some sexy time between these two. I would be more excited if I was actually invested in this couple, but I'm not invested in this couple. Beyond the Gates does struggle with getting me invested in most of their couples. So, yeah, that's where I am with Eva and Isaiah. So I'm not really excited to see them have sexy time because they haven't made me invested in the couple yet. Ted is in the preview finding Leslie in his office, and he seems to finally be telling her to stop crossing the line. This is way overdue, though, and it's so overdue that I don't believe that Ted is actually going to keep this energy with Leslie because we haven't seen it up to this point. But maybe this is finally the time where Ted stands up to Leslie, but I'll believe it when I see it. Then in the preview, we see Dani telling Chelsea and Kat that someone has been hijacking Chelsea's wedding plans. I saw a spoiler that makes me think she's talking about Leslie. And if it's Leslie hijacking Chelsea and Madison's wedding plans, my only question is why? This is just going to be another example of the show not knowing what in the hell to do with the character of Leslie. They have completely botched her as a character, and I do fear this will be another example of that, because what would be Leslie's motivation for ruining Chelsea and Madison's wedding plans or trying to or being in the way of it? It doesn't make sense. They need to find a real storyline for Leslie or just make her pay and send her to prison for a while. She doesn't have to stay there, but I think the show might need a break from her if they're not going to find her a realistic storyline. Next up is Kial and Carlton bickering over Nicole, and Nicole saying she is a grown woman. When I first saw this preview at the end of Friday's episode, this was one of the only things that I was a little bit interested in. But when I rewatched the preview to write down some notes about what I wanted to talk about, Nicole's line annoyed me that she's a grown woman, and we get it. Like, the problem with this storyline and the problem that the writers on the show sometimes has is that I'm worried that they're going to make me want Nicole to end up with neither guy. Because if they just continue to write Nicole as trying to be a playa, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to stand that for too much longer. And I don't really know if I love Kial and Carlton, 2 grown-ass men, acting like high schoolers over her. So I'm going to wait and see how this actually plays out on the episode. But it could just be something else that annoys me with this show. Next up is Naomi, who seems to be emotional with Dani, saying, "Tell me what happened and where is he?" This could be intriguing. Is it Jacob that Naomi is talking about? Is it Bill that Naomi is talking about? I would love to see some progress in both of those storylines. I think the stakes need to be raised in the Bill and Haley stuff. Finally, we got to go somewhere with that storyline. But also the stakes definitely need to be raised with this blood plasma ring. I think someone needs to be in danger. If that someone is Jacob, then maybe the storyline will get a little more exciting. And then lastly is Leslie hearing that construction on her house has been shut down. Why? I mean, I think in the long run, they want Leslie to have that house and be next to Anita and Kat, who's now living there, because this show wants to keep that feud alive for whatever reason, even though it's beyond stale at this point because they haven't done a good job of building it more and more. It's just falling flat now. So this just kind of feels like another way to stall a storyline. Leslie's not. Bill and Vernon are going to get the construction shut down on Leslie's new shouse, but probably not for very long. So I do just fear that that is just to stretch out another storyline, which does not excite me. So I am not very intrigued with this preview. I will still be covering all 3 episodes, but I am actually glad there's only 3 episodes this week and not 5, because the writing is not there right now, and I hope it can get better, but they haven't proved that it's gonna. I think they're really missing Robert Guza as co-head writer, and I think Michelle Valjean needs to call him and ask him for some advice. Maybe bring him back as a story consultant. Something. Let's get to y'all's comments over this past week, which ended up being the Vanessa and Joey show, which was not great because you all know I call Vanessa trash, and it's getting stinkier and stinkier to watch her every single day. Alicia in the comments said, "Why Vanessa keeps wanting to drag Nicole into her sick relationship with Joey just churns my stomach. I know she's not with him to find out the truth about Doug, and I don't care even if she is." Yeah, they just have botched the Vanessa character completely, and the Vanessa and Joey relationship has no real payoff, so it's just bad. Alicia also said that Joey looked like Grandpa Jetson when he was wearing that tinfoil jumpsuit that he had on, and he did. Alicia also said Dollar Tree Detective made me cringe and laugh at the same time. I'm waiting for him to string a clothesline in the alley and start hanging laundry, or at least get a trash can. Yeah, that's true. If you're going to stay in the alley, maybe you should look more homeless than whatever he's trying to go for with his shades. Whatever. We're stuck in that alley because it's the only set they have. Lynette Bolden said, I don't understand how so many people don't see or understand Kat. Yes, she comes across as very arrogant at times, but she has had what she has known all her life, a solid family. Leslie and Eva played and is still until this day very much playing in everyone's faces and haven't paid for any of their wrongdoings. Kat has lost a lot in terms of what she has always known as family. Nicole is hypocritical and doesn't listen to reason and is a failure as Kat's mother. Ted treats Eva 100% or 1000% better than Kat, making up for lost time. This whole comment was kind of like a woe is Kat, and I kind of understand some of it. Lynette is also saying that Kat seems to be the only one that gets insight into Leslie and Eva, and she would be angry too if she was Kat. Look, I get Kat's anger. I just don't want to hear about it every single time Kat is on an episode. I can't stand Kat talking about Leslie and Eva for the 227th time. They just have to do a better job of writing Kat. I get her reasoning for why she's upset with Kat and Leslie, but if she had a better storyline that wasn't Tomas, maybe some people wouldn't be so down on Kat as a character. Kat does annoy me with her arrogance, but it's not really her arrogance, it's her just being like classist that I don't like with Kat. But I've always wanted to like the Kat character more, but the Kat character needs better writing. It would be nice though if Leslie did pay for her crime at this point though, because it's not like they have a good idea for her otherwise. Danica Moore said, I really want Joey to focus on Haley and Randy's mess. That would be amazing if he blows up that whole scheme. I'm mixed on this because I do think Joey will play a part in blowing up Haley's scheme, but I'm getting a little too much screen time for Joey lately. That I feel like Joey is really starting to be shoved down our throats along with trash, so it is hard for me to want to see Joey in more and more storylines than he already is in. Curtis N7X said, I didn't watch today or yesterday. I'm less than thrilled with the overall blandness of this show and that the showrunners didn't appear to listen to viewer feedback. They definitely have ignored viewer feedback over the past 6 months, and that is a mistake. It's a very General Hospital thing to do. And when General Hospital stopped listening to viewer feedback over the past few years, their ratings have gotten worse and worse altogether. And Beyond the Gates can't afford that. I will say right now, Beyond the Gates is in a good spot ratings-wise. I think good enough to get renewed for a third year. But they can't completely not listen to viewer feedback because in the long run, with who owns CBS and Paramount now, I think Beyond the Gates is going to be criticized more by the higher-ups at that network than GH is criticized at Disney. Diva's Delight said, I love how Marcel always calls Joey out on how cold-blooded it is that he had Doug killed, took his wife, hanging around, going to the club, and had the nerve to put the clinic in honor of Doug's name. I mean, yeah, it's good that someone on this show at least calls Joey out. You know, another problem with the Joey character is that he's supposed to be the big bad villain on the show, but people don't act like it enough. Like, if I was Vanessa's friend, Nicole and Danny would be doing way more realistically about her relationship with the big criminal Joey than they are. So, kind of another writing faux pas there. Harriet Smallwood said, I think with the upcoming confrontation between Vanessa and Deanna, that Deanna probably will end up befriending Leslie to spite her mother. I mean, I could see that. I wouldn't hate that. Deanna would have to come back from college again, though, in order to do that, since they already seem to have shipped her back away, which was another writing blunder because, like, mother-daughter rivalry and mother-daughter problems can drive soap operas. It has for decades on other shows. Phoenix Rising said, does Mona want Randy? What really going on? I don't want them together. Phoenix does not want Mona and Randy together. Frankly, neither do I. I don't see a romantic pairing there. But I can see Mona saving Randy and getting him to find Jesus more. Pam Allen said, see, I told you all. Lynette told Randy she was sticking around so that she can get to know Bill better. I can't wait for her to seduce Bill. It will be payback for Haley stealing Bill from Dani. I'm definitely here for that. I'm glad that, first of all, that Lynette is just staying in general, obviously. You know, the week that we get Lynette 5 days a week instead of trash Vanessa 5 days a week is going to be a week where I sit here and praise the show. So here's hoping that happens sooner rather than later. But I also do want Lynette to seduce Bill. Jasmine Williams said, not feeling the church lady and the henchman. Mona, take a seat on a pew, girl. Another person not feeling Mona and Randy. Maybe they're just trying to give Mona something more to do as a side character. It is weird that the show likes to put side characters together so much instead of involving more of their contract players together more. But I fear that sometimes this show has better, more entertaining side characters than a lot of their main cast. Miss Teresa 5006 said the casting of Deanna was perfect. She's very pretty. I do like the casting of Deanna because not only can she act, she's very good at acting, but she does look like she could be Vanessa and Doug's daughter. They did good casting Deanna and Donnell, not only because of looks, but I do think both are pretty good actors too. Especially Deanna. Marty B said, hearing you call Vanessa trash cracked me up. I don't understand why Kat won't just get her own place. I think by the time Bill finds out the truth about Haley and wants nothing else to do with her, she's going to tell him she's pregnant. Well, a couple things here. I think, me calling Vanessa trash resonates with so many of you because it's true. She is trash. I think they're putting Kat with Anita and Vernon so that she can be closer to Leslie when Leslie lives next to them. And as for Bill and Haley, I think that Lynette might be the one that ends up carrying Bill's baby. I think that's how far that storyline might go. which I have mixed feelings about because I don't really want Lynette to be saddled with a child or saddled with a pregnancy storyline. But it kind of makes sense because they've really been driving it hard again. That Bill wants a kid and Haley doesn't want to give Bill a kid. But I think Lynette would be more than happy to give Bill a kid for her own schemes, and I would be here for it. Divine Trivia YT said, to be completely honest, I'm not even watching anymore. I stopped on Friday. It was just Jacob in the Alley for me. It was too boring. And I watch on Paramount. No way I could watch it without being able to fast forward. So this week I've just been listening to your reviews, and I'm going to continue to do that until your reviews indicate there's something worth watching about the show. And I have watched since day one. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry you're not watching anymore, but thank you for still watching my reviews. And I believe you did listen to my review on Thursday and watched Deanna, Terror Vanessa, a new one. But it is too boring right now. I agree. Too many boring storylines at once. Travis J said, I loved every minute of Deanna going in on Vanessa. She's had it coming for so long. Vanessa irritates me how she loves to dish out advice, but as soon as someone gives her advice or an opinion about Joey, she gets pissed. Well, baby girl gave it to her today and didn't care how she felt, and I loved it. Couldn't agree more, Travis J. That's been so long overdue for someone to do that to Vanessa with the storyline because they've just made her more and more unlikable over the months. Book Chalice said, although I haven't watched the show in a couple of weeks, I agree with everything you said. I would have preferred if the twins had stuck together to expose Joey. I mean, I have a little bit of hope that since Donnell learned about Heart Attach, and if he learns that Vanessa is also attached to Heart Attach, maybe Donnell will start to think more like Deanna instead of being a pussy-ass bitch about it. But I'll believe it when I see it because of the way this show writes their mills. Raw Sun 316 said, it's still crazy to me how Dani and Nicole had no issue with Vanessa cheating on Doug despite both of them being cheated on as well. Agreed. I've been saying this since the early days. Why are they so cool with Vanessa about the way she lives? It doesn't make sense that, especially Judgy Nicole, would be so good of friends with Vanessa. But also the way Dani felt after being cheated on, it doesn't really make sense for her either. I really think the show has gone too far out of the way to try and make Vanessa and Joey work, and yet it's still not working. Ed the Bank said, Deanna wasn't playing with calling her mother out. I don't feel bad for Vanessa, and I want the truth about Doug's death to come out. Ed, another person that agrees with us. Rodney Herring said, Deanna did not disappoint. She tore Vanessa up. I loved it. I don't want her to go back to college. Unfortunately, they've already shipped her back to college, but hopefully not for very long. Triple M 20238 said, the name Trash is out of this world and diabolical, but very fitting. It is very fitting. It's just so fitting for Vanessa. Doc Backhand said, you are too funny. Donnell's attempt at peacemaking were lame. Best part was Nicole's insight on Deanna's grief process and how Trash's jumping into a relationship with Joey hurt her daughter. Nicole did give good insight on that episode. Doc Backhand also said, Trash. I love that you're calling Vanessa Trash, by the way. Those of you in the comments, I want you to go into other reviewers' comments if you watch them and call Vanessa Trash too. On Twitter, on Reddit, on message boards. Let's call Vanessa Trash everywhere so maybe the show can, actually get insight into their writing that they've made Vanessa way more unlikable than their supposed big bad Joey. Let's make that a thing. Please go elsewhere calling Vanessa Trash. But Doc Backhand said, Trash showed no guilt about her affair preceding Doug's death. Facts. Only she was ripped a new one by her daughter in public. Only when she was ripped a new one by her daughter in public. Joey's obvious suggestion to Leslie that they no longer needed to interact was fun. Samantha's absence was awful. Kat's narcissism was on display. Yeah, Samantha not being there for the free clinic was weird. They've just taken that story completely away from Samantha, even though it was her idea in the first place. Barbara Gregg said, your Beyond the Gates podcast is much more animated and entertaining than the actual show. Well, thank you, Barbara, for the compliment. I mean, I have to have fun with this show some way because their storylines are not exactly fun right now. In fact, that is the opposite of a word that I would call their current storylines. They are not fun at all. Janice Shields said, "Thank you for the laughs. I thought I was the only one who accuses people of being on crystal meth." Me and my girl have been binging Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, so that's kind of where my crystal meth accusations have been coming from lately. All right, a few more before I gotta go because I'm talking too much today. Too many videos on YouTube this weekend. Deanna Harris says, "You're on a roll. Trash landfill. I will skip watching the show next week and just watch your review, and you can tell me when it or if it gets back on track." Listen, I am honest in my reviews. I will not review a show if I can't be honest or if I just can't stand watching it anymore, which is why I couldn't even cover Survivor this past week because they pissed me off too much. So, yeah, I will be honest. I will let you know for a fact when the show does get back on track. I have to hope it will at some point, but it doesn't seem like anytime soon. Franco0003 said, "Deanna needs to give Trash, Tomas, and Jacob some acting lessons." Deanna was great. She made a big impact in her episodes. I agree. Good actress. Tomas and Jacob do struggle at times to show emotion. And frankly, so does Vanessa. As I said the other day, I like Lauren as an actress in a lot of scenes. But when it comes to having to actually be emotional, she just can't do it. And it's hard to buy. And I think it furthers us from being able to actually connect with Vanessa as a character and makes her more unlikable. Last comment from Hemi said, "The only thing that I want coming out of this stupid free clinic storyline is Doug possibly showing up there with amnesia after escaping from Annie Wilkes 2.0. Since the writers love to copy from old shows and movies, they need to just bring Doug back on and tell us he was living in a misery type situation. The writers aren't shaking the table enough for me. The show is just boring right now, not even worth putting on for background noise." I mean, I can't disagree. I said in the comments that I think the only way to salvage the Vanessa and Joey storyline is that Doug has to still be alive. You know, it's a soap opera staple. Someone comes back from the death. But, maybe he wasn't dead in the first place. And they did leave it enough open-ended for that to happen. I don't know if it has to be a misery type situation, but a return from Doug could salvage the storyline because there's really no other payoff otherwise. All right, that's all for me this week. I will be here to review the 3 episodes of Beyond the Gates this coming week before March Madness hits CBS.